Well, hello and welcome to Business Morning right here on Channel Television. Well, it's a TGIF trade in the nation's commercial capital. Here are the top stories that are set to investing for this week. Hopefully your portfolio is in the green so far. But let's get a check on oil now. We're seeing oil prices. They're up today. As U.S. President Donald Trump said China has agreed to purchase oil from America following talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. And for us that buy fuel at the pumps, we don't like seeing oil up, but it's up again. The government love it though. Oil producers love it. 1.72, a big jump this morning. That's for Brent crude, and we see WTI. That's a bigger 2.18% advance, $103.38 per barrel. Definitely was looking like WTI would fall below the $100 mark, but it's moving up at this point. And definitely, once you see oil rising, expect risk assets to be under pressure, and I'm sure that's happening already, especially with gold and other indexes at this time. So that was a picture right there for the TGIF trade for oil, up big this morning. Let's get a check now on the stock markets. A review of yesterday's trade. We did close slightly lower yesterday. We did see sell pressure in major banking names, including Stanbic, IBTC Holdings, Wema Bank, Zenith Bank. That outweighed gains in Fitson Healthcare and Transcorp. 0.10% drop. That's for trade yesterday. Markets are open right now, past 10. 161.66 trillion. That's the equity cap. Lost 169 billion yesterday. Let's get a check on other parts of the market. Now we see volume, value, and deals there. I believe volume and value, that was in red yesterday compared to the previous trading day. I know we had one green though, but deals 74,822. That's for yesterday's trade. Let's flip over now to some of the other parts of the market. Now we see top gainers. Learn Africa fits in 9.97%. Definitely we're seeing some moves there with the pharmaceutical stocks noticeably so far. So Fitson is up this time. I was tracking Nimeth at some point. Austin La is also up 9.95% to close yesterday. Let's look at the laggards now. Zik is agro-allied industry, 9.99%. That has been on a run for a while now, and we're seeing a big pullback there. FTN Cocoa Processor, 9.87% lower, and Mayor Paints, 9.83%, 21.55 to close. Top trades now. Let's look at the top trades for yesterday. We see top trades. We see some financial services. First Holdco, 75.63 million traded. VFD Group, 107.05 million. Chams, 127. We know with First Holdco, we've seen some insider buying this week. Earlier this week, some of the executives there, buying stocks. So definitely that gives investors confidence there when you see some of these insider trades. So definitely want to keep an eye on so far, First Holdco and most of the banking stocks at this time. All right, we see Nigeria's pension industry could be set for one of its biggest investment plays yet, as the National Pension Commission. They've granted the pension fund administrators special approval to invest in the planned IPO of the Dangote petroleum refinery and petrochemical. In a move aimed at supporting strategic economic growth, Pencom says it waived some existing investment eligibility rules after assessing the refinery's potential impact on both the broader economy and the pension industry. The decision could open the door for a significant pension-backed participation in Africa's largest refinery project. I see the Africa CEO Forum is currently underway in Kigali, bringing together business leaders, investors, policymakers, and CEOs from across the continent to discuss Africa's economic outlook, investment climate, regional trade, and private sector growth. Well, joining us now live from Kigali, we have Ini John Mekwa with the latest updates from the forum. Ini, great to have you. Good morning. I hope you don't mind me calling you Ini CEO when you get back to Nigeria. That's your new nickname at this point.
You can call me Ini. I mean, I've been hobnobbing with the CEOs, so you can expect that I'm also a CEO one way or the other. But good morning to you and well done. Before we head to the CEO story. It's actually what has been going on. This morning, I attended a session where the IFC said that African pension holds about $1 trillion. And I guess that's one of the reasons why Africans are saying that the challenge that we have, the hurdle to development is actually not capital. There's capital on the continent. It's coordinating and integrating the capital for the common good. And I just heard you say how the IPO of Dangote would be enjoying the pension funds. That's obviously a good thing because you know that pension funds have been driving positive sentiment at the NGX for some time now. And I think that's going to continue. And right here, even at the Africa CEO Forum, pension funds and what it's doing on the continent is also a part of the story. So it looks like we're going somewhere. You know, sometimes it can be frustrating when you attend all of these events and you hear beautiful talks and challenge and charge to grow the continent. But, you know, when, for instance, at this time, one thing that seems to be different is a lot of Africans now realize that the capital is actually here. I mean, everybody's talking about pension fund now, not just Nigeria, you know, and it's coming together and being channeled towards our biggest challenge on the continent, which is infrastructural development. That is also getting a bit of it at the capital market. So, Ladi, it's been 2 days. Well, this is the second day of great talks, great sessions. And I have to tell you, Nigeria is actually very dominating in this year's session. I tell you, we have our president as we speak. Our president is in a session. Yesterday, we had our minister of Finance and coordinating minister of the economy. Earlier today, we had the ICT minister, Mr. Tijani Bosu. You know, so a lot of Nigerians are here. The biggest power and policy makers are the Africa CEO. So, of course, there are so many stories for Nigeria coming from here. But, of course, there are other participants also, and they are all contributing their quota. But permit me, you know, to be biased since I'm a Nigerian.
That's fine. Your bias is allowed at this point. I did get a sound bite on social media, one of the sessions with President Tinubu there, where he talked about Africa putting their money where their mouth is. Then I think the presenter or the anchor said, you need to put the mic where your mouth is. That was a funny one there. But our investors and business leaders, are they optimistic about Africa's growth prospects, you know, despite current global economic uncertainties?
Like the social media is wicked, you know, so I was hoping that won't get out. But
right.
because, you know, the president started by saying that investors should put their money where their mouth is, but his microphone was away from his mouth. So the moderator now told him, Mr. President, you put your microphone where your mouth is. You know, that was that part there. Just, you know, a little bit of, you know, fun or comedy right there. But, I mean, the president in that yesterday's session, which was the presidential panel, was himself and the president of Gabonese, realizing actually that, yes, we have the potentials. And I think one thing that everybody, including the president of the Republic of Rwanda, have sounded very loudly at this seminar has been, we know that we have mineral resources and we know we are being exploited. It is time to now consciously and intentionally add value to those raw materials, to those mineral resources. We're talking about electric vehicles now, renewable energy. Africa has it. I mean, records show that 30% of global resources is in Africa. So what are we doing with it? Do we just wait for foreigners to come and take them in their raw form? And then as the president of Rwanda, Mr. Kagame, said yesterday, then we now buy more expensive processed one. It's time to wake up. And I'm happy that the leaders are saying it, even though this is not new knowledge. So it remains to be seen if when they get back home, including our president, we would see changes and consciousness or cautiousness and intentionality in adding value to those raw materials. I know that in Nigeria, there's a law that you must do at least 30% value added before any raw material is exported. But has that had a lot of impact? Do we need to look at that again? Well, these are the things that will be taken away from the meetings as it ends later on today.
Right. Thank you so much. Any great reporting as usual, and definitely know we'll get more from you going forward. I do enjoy your stay there. Thank you. All right, so far that's a review of what's played out so far at the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali. We'll get more updates from INE as they come out at this point. To other stories now, the federal government says Nigeria's special agro-industrial processing zones program will play a major role in transforming the country's agricultural sector from a raw commodity-driven economy into a value-added industrial powerhouse. Speaking in Abuja, the permanent secretary of the federal government, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Marcus Ogumbi, said the initiative is expected to reduce post-harvest losses, attract private investment, and boost productivity. Take a listen.
The SAPZ program represents one of the most strategic agricultural and economic transformation initiatives of the federal government of Nigeria. It is a flagship program jointly financed by the federal government of Nigeria, the African Development Bank, AFDB, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and the Islamic Development Bank, with strong collaboration from participating state governments and private sector stakeholders. The program is designed to transform Nigeria's agricultural landscape by moving our country from the export of raw agricultural commodities to agro-industrial processing, value addition, and market-driven agricultural development. The SAPZ initiative seeks to establish integrated agro-industrial hubs with critical infrastructure such as roads, power, water supply, storage facilities, logistics systems, and processing centers located close to areas of high agricultural production.
All right, so see, global brands operating in Nigeria are increasingly being challenged to think beyond traditional playbooks and connect more deeply with local culture, consumer behavior, and everyday realities. One brand currently generating conversation around that strategy is Burger King, following the launch of the BK Small Chops, a concept that blends global fast food with a distinctly Nigerian street food culture. Well, join us to unpack this now, discuss the thinking behind the launch, localization strategy, pricing, and the broader direction for the brand in Nigeria is Mr. Rushdie Ibrahim, Managing Director, CEO, Burger King, Nigeria. It's great to have you on the show, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Ladi. You know, it's a pleasure to be here, and good morning to all the viewers as well. Very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited, and you know, it's quite interesting. When I saw, you know, the offering there of small chops, it reminded me of my wife. You know, at this point, when we go to any event, she's always like, "Babe, I need small chops." Right. If she sees a small chops, she's like, "I need small chops now." So we love small chops.
Right.
Nigerians love it, you know, a lot at this point. But this is a notable shift. You know, when you hear Burger King, you think about the burgers.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So, you know, if you just to go back to that story about your wife and the small chops.
Yeah.
Nigerians actually don't need a reason for small chops, right?
Right.
You can have small chops at any time of the day. So it's not actually a shift for us as a brand. It is how we operate going around the world. If you look at how Burger King operates around the world, it's part of our DNA. It's who we are when it comes to adapting to what the market tells us to adapt to. So there are many markets where we have chicken variants, rice in the menu. It all relates to how the locals, you know, live and eat. And when you think about Nigeria and how Nigeria has grown, the urbanization is incredible, right? Everything is changing ever so fast. And the consumer behavior is also shifting. It's not the, you know, regular lunch, dinner, breakfast or snack. But, they expect speed, they expect pricing, they expect convenience and relevance. And what we have done, coming in with BK Small Shops, is to be able to adapt to that need.
Right. So technically, you operate in different countries,
Yes.
at this point. So if this country has this special thing they like to eat, you find a way to make an offering of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, localization is a key ingredient on how we operate as a brand. And as I mentioned, there are countries that offer rice. There are countries that offer shawarma. There are countries as part of the Burger King menu. And that is because we listen. We understand that in order to operate in a market, we need to be closer to the consumer rather than, expecting the consumer to be closer to us. Ladi, you know that, Nigerians are an advanced citizenship. Their choices are very sophisticated, but they are also very, very emotional, right? They are emotional about what they eat, and they're very, very close to culture. And, being able to adapt to that reality is going to be very crucial for us. And small shops is actually a testament to us understanding, us listening to the consumers. I remember, one of the consumers had posted saying exactly that question that you said. Hey, you're Burger King, stick to burgers. We understand. But it is also important to understand Burger King adapts where it requires. And when we brought in small shops, we didn't create a new thing. It was what was absolutely relevant for Nigeria. And if you look at what makes up our small shops, we have plantain cubes, we have samosas, we have spring rolls, chicken wings, onion rings. These 5 items are already in our menu, in our side items. It's already there. We didn't reinvent the wheel. The only thing we added was the puff puff, which completes the small shops offering.
Yeah, you can't have small shops without
puff puff.
Right.
Absolutely. So that's the only thing that got added. So from the side category of having all these different local menu items, we put all of that together and created the snack item, the small shop. So
right.
It was actually meeting the consumer where they wanted us to meet them, rather than, expecting the consumers to meet us.
Right, and you did mention the consumers, the buyers are mostly very emotional, and I can imagine, people have brands of small shops that they love, and I'm trying to imagine, is it going to be a situation where they'll be like, I like that Burger King small shops. It's different from this one.
I cannot talk about other brands, but what I can tell you is if you taste my small shops, you will keep coming back.
Right.
Because what we drive consistency. We drive the food safety aspect. We drive operational discipline. So imagine, being able to take something literally off your way of life. It's not even a meal. Small shops is a way of life in Nigeria. I came here 3 years ago, and every event that I went to, there were small shops.
Yeah.
Right? So it was incredible. So imagine taking something like that. There's something that is Nigerian staple, but couple that with, absolute consistency, the safety that we bring into the picture, and the operational discipline that Burger King carries. So that's small shops, the BK small shops. Really.
Right. And looking at the launch now, you chose a particularly interesting area, Obalinde. And I remember, younger, when I was much younger, walking through Obalinde, chaos.
Absolutely.
And that's where you choose to launch.
Yeah. Yeah. So interestingly, what we didn't want was a very controlled environment. We wanted that chaos. We wanted the real life. We wanted people to actually, we wanted the pulse of the people. Obalinde and, the type of people who actually commute through, hundreds of thousands of people
right.
commute through that, and we chose the intersection. We wanted to feel the pulse. And if you had seen it, you would have seen that we did something that has never happened
I saw drones.
Exactly. You know, that has never happened before in Nigeria with the QSR brand. We literally dropped 500 small chops into the hands of 500 commuters. It was amazing, Ladi, to see the reaction of people. And Burger King, small chops, that's exactly what we wanted. Understand, and you know, there were constructive comments that came along, and we've learned from it. We've adapted. We loved the feedback, and it's amazing to actually feel it when you go closer to the consumer, listen to them. You know, that's something that I love doing.
Right, and I can imagine, you know, those small shops dropping with the drones and those bus conductors, drivers. What was their reaction?
You know, we had to control because there were people coming for the small shops. But it was an amazing experience in that I personally was able to hear from customers what this meant to them.
You spoke to some of the commuters there.
Oh, I absolutely did. Because, you know, my firm belief is, as the CEO of the organization, you are the #1 salesperson in the company. Right? So then you're not going to be the #1 salesperson by sitting in the office. You have to be where the sound is. So I enjoy doing that, and I was able to talk to so many of them, hand out physically some products as well. It was an incredible experience.
Right. And I know, you know, Nigerians love a whole lot of, you know, different kinds of street food at this point. So I know we love small chops. But some of us, there's something we call risky burger. You know, it's a street food there. It's a bread, you smack egg in there. So there's a lot of, you know, street foods there. But why small chops? Why not something else?
So, a very interesting question, and a great one at that. Like I mentioned, we already had the side items that made up the small chops. It just made sense for us to fit in to the way the consumers ate every day, rather than expecting the consumers to, you know, adapt to us. We also firmly believe that small chops is not just a product. It's a way of life. Like I said before, Nigerians really don't need a reason to have small chops, right? And it is part of, you know, the way Nigerians eat and drink. So it just made sense. Small chop, we have it. Let's put it together and, you know, bring it to them, because that's...
Right. And sometimes, don't you feel like, because when, you know, international brands coming to another country, most of the time, you would expect them to stick to their identity, you know, at this point. Is there a risk, you know, of losing your identity when you start offering, you know, some of these street foods and what they love there?
So, Ladi, interesting you asked that, because somebody actually said it as well.
Right.
You know, in one of the comments, and this is, again, going back to, we actually listen to people, right? So, no, it is not. You know, us losing our identity. It is actually an expression of how we operate across the globe. When we launched small shops, our #1 selling food item remained our Whopper and the double Whopper, staying true to who we are as the home of the Whopper. But the small shops did was actually complement our existing offerings. So, by introducing something local, it doesn't mean that I am moving away, shifting away from who we are as a brand. We will always be the home of the Whopper, but we will be a home of the Whopper in Nigeria, right? So it's not going to be something that I'm going to copy-paste from where we operate elsewhere. Localization is in our DNA, and we will continue to do that.
So it's not like burgers are under pressure, because we know when it comes to burgers, you know, it can be pricey, you know, sometimes.
Not at all. And talking about burgers being pricey, yeah, absolutely not. You know, it's not under pressure. We do have something for everybody in our, you know, menu. So if you look at our gourmet offerings, So, you have the gourmet burgers, then you have the signature, you have the classic, and then you have the value. So, we have a range that goes from value to all the way to gourmet. Not at all. Our burgers are not under pressure. In fact, one of our top-selling Whopper range products was the Suya Whopper, which we brought in as a limited-time offering. And, I might get into trouble with my marketing director for this, but the Suya Whopper is coming back as a permanent menu item because that was one of our top-selling Whoppers.
Yeah, Nigerians love suya.
Yeah.
At this point. All right, let's look at pricing now. What's the price tag for the BK small chops? What's that looking like?
So the BK small chops is at 1,800 naira, just the small chops by itself, and 2,500 naira for a small chops meal that comes with a drink. Now, when we sat down and we looked at what is the ideal price point, what should it be? So our thinking was, again, there is a certain consumer behavior pattern today. There is a consumption pattern today, right? We are not expecting the consumers to fit to our pricing, but instead, we wanted to fit into their consumption pattern. When we created small chops, Ladi, we didn't create a meal. We created meal occasions, right? So small chops can be anytime, anywhere. And in order for us to fit into that consumption pattern, the North Star my team came up with was the 1,800 price point. We'll have to wait and see. So far, we are doing so much better than our projections, way, way better than our projections.
I can imagine. I'll keep track on the sales, when it comes to that. But, for people just hearing about, the BK small chops, what would you like them to, take away, from this conversation?
So, the BK small chops is not a departure from who we are. It is actually an expression of how we operate across the globe, adapting to local culture. What you can also take away from small chops is the consistency, the quality, the operational discipline, and the safety that we bring in, okay? And we are not going to stop with small chops. That's another thing that you can take from small chops. I leave it to your imagination, Ladi. We firmly believe that when we entered the market, we did enter with certain, local items, localized items like the sweet potato cubes, yam fries, plantain cubes. These were all part of our menu from the inception. We are now expanding that. We are going into a range of innovations. Burger King tagline is, have it your way. We are pushing this now, albeit a little late. We are pushing it to have it the Niger way. So it's important that we are not just, on the side of the culture, but we are part of the culture. And so, again, leaving it to your imagination,
right.
This year is about innovation for us. This year is about making it loud and clear that, it's not just have it your way, but it is have it the Niger way.
The Niger way. Fantastic. I guess that's a good place to leave it because right now, I'm craving a burger right now, and it's a Friday. Why not? Why not have a burger? Thank you so much. Mr. Rushdie Ibrahim, Managing Director, CEO, Burger King, Nigeria. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll find out what's happening with Nigeria's tourism industry. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, on to our next conversation. Now, countries like United Arab Emirates, Rwanda have successfully turned conference tourism into a major economic driver, generating billions through global summits, exhibitions, business events. But despite Nigeria's large economy, population and strategic position in Africa, the country still struggles to attract, major international conferences at scale. Today, we examine what Nigeria may be missing in the global MICE economy. That's meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, and what it would take for cities like Lagos and Abuja to compete globally. Well, joining me now for this conversation, we have Mr. Demola Sonia as the President, Nigeria-Britain Association, and SCAL Nigeria, and he joins me right here in the studio. It's great to have you, sir. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
So we have the Africa CEO Forum. That's happening. Started yesterday.
Okay.
But guess where it's happening?
Okay,
in Kigali. Right. And we see most of the global conferences, they mostly choose Kigali, Cape Town, Dubai, Nairobi, Casablanca, when they want to have most of these top conferences so far. So why do you think Nigeria is struggling to get some of these conferences here? I believe we have fantastic event places and all of that.
Yeah, contrary to what is out there, thank you for that question. Contrary to what is out there, we're doing quite a bit, but we're not just doing as much as we should be doing.
Right, it's about 2%.
Yeah, I mean, we could do much more better.
Right.
At the moment, the constraint has just been around security risk, infrastructural gap, international perception, and a lot of bureaucracy hurdles. Those are the conditions or the parameters that have hindered our growth in that area. Abuja has had a lot of conferences, and if I really want to put it clear out there, I stand to be corrected. Most African presidents have visited Abuja. You will agree with me. At the conference center, staying at the Transcorp Hilton, but we could do better. And the international perception is not doing us any good at all. So what it means is that we need to work better on putting out a narrative that shows that Nigeria is the essence to bring MICE into Nigeria, bring in MIC tourism. Conferences can hold here. We have a hotel conference center.
Right.
I mean, the biggest event in Lagos has taken place there, and I don't see why we don't continue in that trajectory.
So, definitely, we know as a country, we have a particular segment, the average man on the street, and, different countries have different mindset, when it comes to the locals. There, does that have anything to do with, attracting some of these global conferences? Do they care about the mindset of the people that live in that country? Because as a foreigner, if you go into the streets of Lagos now, the chances you might not have the best experience, depending on where you go. Not saying it's everywhere, but there's some parts that you might struggle with.
To be honest, there is something that plays good for us in Nigeria. We are assumed to be one of the happiest people around the world.
I did see that. Yeah, we're quite happy.
The story around a little jollof rice brought a lot of interest around Nigeria. Dirty December brought a little bit of awareness to the rest of the world concerning Nigeria. We just need to harness some of these things to become a holistic resource, to be honest. The local community matters in every event you do. For anyone to come into your company, into your country, or into your space, for any tourism event, they want to feel comfortable. They want to be. I've been to places where you have police officers trained only to attend to tourists. So they know. You drop anything on the streets, they will keep it and you come back and pick it. They know what to tell every tourist that come into the area because they know that they don't know anything and they want to feel comfortable. And for any tourist that feels good about coming to your community, they will always return. What that means is return spending, inflow will continue.
Okay, so definitely let's see why conference tourism matters at this point, because fine, we get it. Your country is chosen for a big conference. Why does it really matter? If they do it elsewhere?
Conference tourism is one spectrum of a total tourism. You've got medical tourism, you got sport tourism. It's just like saying, why do people bother about sport tourism in Nigeria? Do you know what it does when you host? I remember when we hosted the Olympics in Nigeria. Sorry, I take that back. The Junior World Cup in Nigeria. How many people came? What was spent in Nigeria? Of course, it matters to people to hold conferences, to have conferences in your country. For instance, if you want to hold a conference in Nigeria, you need to let people know that they'll be safe when they come. You need to let them know that there's connectivity of flights.
Even if they're walking in the streets.
It should be okay.
Densely populated streets.
And what we need to do is orientation for our citizens to say, these visitors that are coming in is the potential business for you.
So you have to be on your best behavior.
Yes.
As a citizen of the country.
Totally. When Calabar started Calabar tourism, every single person in that city has something to sell. It's either you're taking part in the regalia or you're selling something. Within that month of December, it is fun fair in that city, and everybody goes back home happy.
All right. So looking at the MICE industry now, talking about meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition, the industry estimated global value $650 billion to about $700 billion. Is that correct?
In 2023, in 2023, there was about 11.7 trillion globally. Globally. 11.7 trillion. Countries like South Africa, Rwanda, Morocco, Egypt, even Uganda is targeting $100 million in 2030 from MICE tourism. Those are inflow of effects into any community. Let me quickly run you through just a bit of a deviation into what Dirty December has done to Lagos. We have not put it into real time on figures of what Forex has come into this country, but over 1.2 million people came into Lagos in December. None of them will have come in with less than $200.
And I like that kind of dollars because when it comes in, it stays.
It stays.
It doesn't have to.
It stays.
It's not hot
in
money.
Your economy. And people go back happy, and they're planning to come back again.
So, as a country now, looking at our ranking in Africa, I guess we're ranked 14th. About, that level, then the likes of South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, Morocco, Egypt, Ghana, they're leading.
Even Rwanda is about the third position at the
third
moment.
position. So, looking at these countries leading now, what do we have to do, starting from the government side of things and as a people, to attract these conferences?
The government needs to make policies and support, provide infrastructures that will make it easy for people to come and have events here. Create incentives. Singapore creates incentives. If an airline knows that there are a lot of people that keeps coming to Nigeria for MICE, what they will do is create special packages for people coming within those periods. Yeah? And as long as the government puts policies in place, people will thrive within that policy. At the moment, do we have a desk in the airport that attend to tourists? I'm not talking of returnees coming back home. I'm not talking of people coming to visit their family. I'm talking of an individual just coming from somewhere in the world and wants to come and do something in Nigeria, comes to visit Nigeria. Do we have a desk where they could just come in and talk to somebody and say, I want to go around the city? Right. And there'll be somebody to take them around. Those are potentials that can earn us as much effects. We are underestimating it, sincerely.
Right, and definitely, I guess it's time to move away from concentration on oil and other of these commodities and look at, the tourism side of things.
If today we put it in a circle and leave oil in one circle and create another circle to put agriculture, put mineral resources, put tourism, those three together will overwhelm oil.
Fantastic. That's what I want to see at this point. Thank you so much, Mr. Ademola Sonia, as the president of SCAR Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Our show today. It was great having you. Thank you so much, sir.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we look at renewable energy. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. Obviously, Nigeria's energy conversation is rapidly evolving. Rising fuel costs, persistent electricity challenges, and increasing pressure on households and businesses are forcing many Nigerians to rethink how they power their homes and operations. Well, joining me now to discuss this, I have Olauto Fahimi, the head PR and communications at Transsion Holdings. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Exactly 2 years. We're talking before now, since you were last here.
Right.
Great to have you again.
Great to be here.
So let's look at the power reality in Nigeria. Average national grid supply, about 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts.
Yeah.
But at some point, it dropped to about 2,000 megawatts. And that's for over 200 million people.
Right.
Same old story. South Africa, about 40,000 megawatts capacity. Egypt, 50,000 megawatts at this point. And now we're seeing a lot of households, businesses shifting to renewable energy.
Absolutely.
How's it going so far? Because I know there's also a cost for renewable energy.
Right, it is. And I mean, first of all, thanks for having me. I mean, going by the books, it's not easy. Not easy to stay with the current situation of power. At the same time, it hasn't been easy switching to renewable energy. What has made a difference is a brand like ours that has thought about how to make it easy for Nigerians, pretty much decentralizing power. Let me take you back to the days of telecommunications. You remember back in the days, the early 20s, when telecoms just came into Nigeria. You see how our fathers were able to afford it. We weren't able to afford it. We were in school. Then you'll see a SIM going for 50,000, 60,000, and all of that. But today, what's the story? It's completely different.
It's almost free.
Almost free, yes. SIM card is almost free. You see, no matter your level, you are able to afford a certain mobile phone that you can put a SIM card and it works and you're able to communicate. That's exactly what's about to happen to power. That's exactly what a brand like ITEL Energy, where I belong to, is trying to do. And ITEL Energy is one of the subsidiaries of Transsion Holdings. What we're trying to do is to ensure that no matter your level in Nigeria, you are able to afford solar energy. You're able to afford alternative power. So gone are the days where you have inverters that have bulky batteries, and you probably need to get a room to store them. And most of them are lead batteries that don't last for so long and all of that. All of that has changed. Now you have all-in-one packs where you have the inverters, the MPPT track controller, and the batteries all in one box that you can just put in the corner of your house, connect it to your mains, and you have power.
And we know there's that debate, you know, they say don't put it in a living space.
Yes.
You know, most of these
Because
inverters and batteries
yes.
and all of that. Then there's also some social media conversations about fires being started by, you know, panels
Absolutely.
on the roof. Well, I don't know for sure if that's what really, happening.
The thing is, there are two ways to this. First off, what we're trying to do now, because at the level where we are now, we need to, a lot of awareness needs to be done. Nigerians don't know so much about solar power yet. And that's what we're trying to do at this stage. Now, back in the days where you have panels like that and the bulky batteries and the lead batteries, sometimes the installations are not well done. That's if you give it to just anyhow installers, they would do wrong installations for you and you stand the risk of having fire. But these days, what we even do is to ensure that we have a group of installers that are trained that you can get to bring to your house to ensure that the installations go well. And let me even go away from households. What about businesses? What about commercial and industries? Everybody at this point have to find a way around it. I'm sure you're aware that over 15 trillion naira is spent on diesel and generator in a year in Nigeria. And so it cuts across, whether you're a single person or you're a family or you own a business or you have an industry. What we have tried to do in our organization is to ensure that there is a product that speaks to you. So if you are an influencer, a student, there are small all-in-one boxes, AIOs, we call them, 500 watts, 1,000 mAh, that one is power go. The 500 watt is power tank. It's mobile. You can carry it around. That's why I said telecoms. What happened to telecoms is about to happen to power.
Especially with renewable energy.
With renewable energy, yes.
So it's getting smaller.
It's getting smaller.
Hopefully it will get
getting affordable. Yes, that's the point.
Or free.
Hopefully, because we're even
free.
getting to situations where you see organizations...
Or near free.
Near free. We had an exhibition some days back, and one of the people who came, their participant, said she had an NGO and she was going into the rural areas, and she wanted to take bulk of the power gold, the 100,000 mAh, to go and distribute there. Because those are places where they do... And the funny thing is, these small boxes, you can even use solar panels to charge them. So you get a small panel with it, you can charge, and all your devices are fine throughout the day. So alternative power is not the future, it's now. And businesses like ours, like ITEL Energy, what we're trying to do is to ensure that no matter your level, you're a single person, you're a student, you have a business, something is for you. For example, industries now, we have a 50 kilowatt inverter that has 16 kilowatt hour batteries stackable of up to 12. So if you have an industry, you can put that up and you run away from the grid.
Your power issues at this point. It's a developing conversation, and definitely we'll keep having it at this point. And hopefully it's within reach for everyone.
Sure.
Renewable energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Farmi is the head PR and communications, Transsion Holdings Limited. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Lady.
All right, let's find out what's happening in the global space.
Thank you. U.S. President Donald Trump has wrapped up his two-day visit to China after high-level talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping focused on trade, energy security, and geopolitical tensions. As the summit concluded, Trump invited Xi to visit Washington in September, signaling efforts by both countries to maintain dialogue despite ongoing differences over tariffs, Taiwan, and technology restrictions. Meanwhile, energy security and the Iran war took center stage as U.S. President Donald Trump met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, and the talks comes amid growing concerns over global oil supply disruptions linked to tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. China is also reportedly considering increased purchases of U.S. oil as both countries seek to ease trade tensions and stabilize energy markets. Up next, global automaker Stellantis has agreed to a new deal with China's Dongfeng Motor to jointly produce Jeep and Peugeot vehicles in China. The agreement will see new energy models built at the Wuhan plant for both the Chinese market and exports. Production is expected to begin from 2027 with plans for wider cooperation on research, development and future platforms. The move reflects growing reliance by Western automakers on Chinese partners amid intensifying global competition. And closing arguments have concluded in the legal battle between Elon Musk and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman over the company's structure and governance. Musk argues OpenAI moved away from its original non-profit mission, while OpenAI says it initially supported its shift to a for-profit model. Lawyers exchanged sharp accusations over credibility and control of the AI firm. Musk was absent from the court, with his legal team saying he was attending other business commitments, including his trip to China with President Donald Trump. The case now heads to jury deliberations, with a verdict expected to have major implications for AI governance. An Indian billionaire, Gautam Adani, and his nephew, Sagar Adani, have reached a settlement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission over a fraud case tied to alleged bribery and investor disclosures. Under the proposed agreement, Gautam Adani would pay $6 million, while Sagar Adani would pay $12 million in civil penalties without admitting wrongdoing. The case centered on the allegations that investors were misled over an alleged bribery scheme linked to solar energy contracts in India. Reports also indicate that U.S. authorities are moving closer to dropping related criminal fraud charges against the Adanis. Now, under shares rose after the Japanese automaker reported its first annual operating loss in decades, driven largely by heavy costs linked to its electric vehicle strategy. The company posted a loss of more than 400 billion yen after booking major EV-related charges and scaling back some electrification plans. Despite the setback, investors reacted positively to Honda's forecast for a return to profitability and its decision to maintain shareholder returns, including dividends. The automaker is now shifting focus towards hybrid vehicles as it adapts to slowing global EV demand and rising competition in the sector. And that's a global news brief. I'm Will Ibang.
All right, thank you so much, Will. And as expected, with oil prices still higher, we're seeing Bitcoin down and most risk assets down. We'll bring you more updates at 1:30. I'm Ladi Williams. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.